expressions, ways she mimics. She acted as fuel for my passion, spinning my head with treats and tricks. She finally convinced me to listen. She said, don't worry, honey, I've got my pockets full of shiny stars. Although they sin and funny, will mend your heart and heal your bleeding scars. Persuaded to pursue her, promises of better times to come. I followed her through the blood towards the aisles of the unknown wisdom. She sat there with a hand and a flask, kaleidoscope eyes telling stories. They asked me to come to the fair, where sympathy is known to grow on trees. She said, don't worry, honey, I've got my pockets full of shiny stars. Although they sin and funny, will mend your heart and heal your bleeding scars. Persuaded to pursue her, promises of better times to come. I followed her through the flood towards the aisles of the unknown wisdom. Through her pink patch pockets as she was singing for the likes of me. She sang, don't worry, honey, I've got my pockets full of shiny stars. Although they sin and funny, mend your heart and heal your bleeding scars. Persuaded to pursue her, promises of better times to come. I followed her through the flood towards the aisles of the unknown wisdom. Got my pockets full of shiny stars. Mend your heart and heal your bleeding scars. Oh yeah, yeah. What's going on, boys?
Hello.
Hello. Hello, how are you?
So you can see how weak I am. I have to have somebody actually make a phone call and move things and adjust things. I can do things like my silver ball. I can spin that around on the show and do that.
Yeah?
Wherever it is. There it is. I make big decisions with this, and plus I have an 8-ball. And I have an advertising agency, so when there's a big decision I really can't decide, then I go to the 8-ball. And
that's a good idea.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they don't want to see that and hang out. So, boys, congratulations on the album, October 5th.
Thanks.
And I do think I liked your first stuff on the Buka Bus, but I think you sound even better. You have a little bit more, I thought, grittiness, if that makes any kind of sense. I don't know if that was anything you were striving for, but I like it, and I noticed that I just felt it in a couple songs, but I don't want to forget one thing. We're going to do 2 anniversary shows. We're going to do one on the 9th. We got all kinds of sound bites and some good videos and that kind of stuff. We want to put your song in the very first one. So what song do you want us to put in? Which is the one you would prefer to have us push?
I don't know, man.
Good question.
Okay, well, just let us know. Just text us or let us know, because I'm going to record it next week, the first one.
Cool.
Okay.
And we want to put whatever you guys want, and we want to do it in the very first show. So when we started this thing, I don't know if you remember or not, but I started it for like a digital diary for my daughter.
Yeah, I remember you told us.
And I played in the 70s. That was when I had my sticks out. But I never stopped listening to music. a lot of my friends, would say, okay, the ages are enough for me. I love music all the way through. So I was listening to stuff the day before our show kicked off in 2017. I do have favorite stuff, maybe a little of the older, but I love some new stuff just as much or better. And I think overall, probably the singing's better than when I used to play, because we used to play, singing was shit, pardon the language, or crap. I guess we could say what we want on here.
Yeah, shit is fine.
But we could play, and I'll introduce you to Howard in a little bit. And I did, my last band, I actually was somebody who could sing. He was a 350-pound, damn good guitar player, really soulful guy, could play a good harp. He was a blues guy, but we were younger than him, so we wanted to play some Cream, and we wanted to do, we did a lot of Stones and that stuff. But he could sing. Yeah. So when you do a song like a real slow, like a Georgia, in the old days that would embarrass me, because you're back on the drums and you'd hear bad singing. In a really
you can't do anything.
Where everybody, you didn't like that, but he could sing into where we'd actually listen to his singing. He'd do a song like that, and I'd want to hear it. So you guys sing very well, and you work great at that.
Thanks.
Terry's sending something up in front of my face. I don't know what it is. I can barely read. What is it? Let me just put it in front. Who cares? They could all see.
Yeah.
So, a salty taste to the lake.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask him everything, dude. Wow, what a producer I've got here. So, just so you know, so I started this thing for my daughter. She runs my company, and she listens to music. We're only 19 years difference in age, and of course, if her dad goes up as a drummer, she thinks that's pretty good and playing music and the rest of it. But after about 2 months, Terry came to me one day and said, the show's, because he does all the Google Analytics and stuff, he said, the show's in like 5 countries. I said, what? 5 countries? I couldn't believe it. And so we started to pay attention. And then after about 4 months, I told my daughter, I said, this just has to be a show. I'm not planning it. We put business plans together for our business, and you guys do too, I'm sure. And this had no business plan. It's just been kind of organic. And like the guy I'm going to introduce you in a little while, we grew up together, and he was a damn good bass player, but he became famous behind the board. He produced albums and stuff. If you read his stuff he's got 10 or 12 gold records and platinum, and played with as soon as you start talking about a rock band, he can tell you, yeah, I lived out in North Carolina. He was out by a gas. I mean, he does it. And I'm saying that, not bragging, because we've been friends since 14 or 15. So I do have to tell this one story that has been told. And if you listen to the show, you hear it. So one night, he came in from L.A. and hooked up with us, and we were, let's say we were inhaling some cigarettes at the time. So we went out to this bar, and we were really having a nice time. And all of a sudden, there are 3 of us there, and all of a sudden somebody comes up and just punches me in the face. Wham! Gives me a cold cock, and I stagger around. I don't know what it is, so I get up, and neither one of us are fighters, but you've got to defend yourself. We're throwing the blows.
Of course.
And then I look over to the right, and Howard is shorter than I am. He's a little smaller, not in his brain. It's a little bigger, but the rest of him, Howard jumped on this guy's back, bigger than him, and he had a chokehold on him. And you shouldn't do this if you're a sound engineer, but he just kept punching his ear. That's all. So it made me laugh. So a guy hit me, and he's just punching that ear. I said, you're destroying the man's hearing. I didn't say that, but later when I looked at it. So at the end of it, it was pretty short, and that was that. And I was so proud of Howard, because the other guy we were with didn't do anything. And Howard was the smallest of the 3 of us. So
cool.
In about an hour and a half later, the guy comes back, and he says, man, I'm really sorry. He said, somebody told me we thought it was you and a girl or something. And he said, I apologize. I'm sorry, man. Can I buy you guys around? That's how you did it in the old days. You didn't stab somebody or do anything else. But it was, it was a fight out there. So that's one thing I never forget about Howard. Plus, at a radio station when we were kids, we both shared at different times. He's a little bit older than me. We shared janitorial duties at night. So push the broom. My dad had a country and western station, and I was playing rock and loving the girls and failing in school. And I'd go down the hall. I'd go to Juarez and just check the scenery out 10 to 12 at night and come back about 12. And I had a class at 8. So I would go down the hallway with my dust catcher broom, and I'd hear, my baby left me, she treated me wrong, my pickup truck blew up, and I thought, I hate this stuff. I hate this music. Yeah, my dad brought in people like Johnny Cash and some of the big stars in town for like a junior Grand Ole Opry. So it's kind of all around that stuff. But back to the show. Once I told Shelly, we're going to have to make a show. We're going to have to try to get better. We're going to have to try to do this or whatever we do. Today, thanks to the music, because we don't really advertise. We just do social media stuff. But thanks to 70 years of rock. And I played stuff, if you listen, from the 20s, a few blues guys that really had the blues. You know, when somebody says they accuse me of forgery and I'm in jail and I can't even write my name, I sign with an X. You know, that's, to me, those are the before Howlin' Wolf guys and all that stuff that you know, and you pick that up. But as of today, we are stuck. We've been stuck for about 5 weeks, which isn't bad, I guess. We're in 32 countries and in 537 cities around the world. Now, a lot of those...
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the music. And a lot of that is their ones. You know, there must be 250 of those cities that are just one person. But a guy told me the other day, I'd rather have 537 cities. They're not all ones. Let's say 250, rather than have 150 cities with 10 in each one, because that one person can tell somebody, did you hear the Caper Clowns' new song? Did you hear that? And it's so weird because the U.S., of course, is the champion. But the number two is, the downloads. The number two is Japan. The number three is UK. The number 4 is Russia, and number 5 is who do we have at number 5? Canada. And what's funny about Russia, they have, we have a decent little crowd in Russia. I don't know what the hell I don't know what they think or what it is, but we have none of the listeners. They're in 3 cities, not Leningrad and not Moscow. I don't know where the hell those cities are. I don't even know where some of these cities are that come in. But about 2 weeks ago, we picked up a couple good ones like Philadelphia and Chattanooga over here. But then I saw Tijuana come in from Mexico, so I could just see a dude down there at the bar just popping those tequilas. So I had a dream about you guys, and I'll lay it out. Not you, but I like the Ravenettes a lot. I like Baby Woodrose and some of the other. I like Scandinavia. I like that stuff, and I like the chick bands. They're very sexy and very nice. I like the way they play. But my dream is next year. We told Lone we're coming, and I'm mad because I know Lone's behind that door, and she was afraid to come out and say hello to us. But
no, she isn't actually. She isn't here.
She really isn't.
Well, she's next door in the other building, but
she's hiding. Come on,
she's not too far away.
She's at least 2 doors.
2 doors.
So I could see us. We're all in a little, I don't know what your bars look like, but it has kind of, I picture a low ceiling with kind of yellow, kind of dark inside, and you guys are there, and Lone's there, and maybe Terry will come over. My wife and I are there. Maybe the Ravenettes are there. Maybe we're all drinking whatever you would call your shots are. Whatever you guys drink, we'll drink it with you.
Sambuca.
Yeah. But my wife said, Lone said, will you come stay with us? My wife said, you're not going to stay in a rock and roll house. You had your years in a rock and roll house. You'll be staying with me at a hotel. I said, we'll see about that, honey.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. But I love what you guys are doing now. It really does. I mean, I thought you sounded good before. Howard hasn't even heard you yet, and I was supposed to let him last night, but he started making martinis. And so
one thing that's
yeah, so you know how that goes. It actually didn't work out. But after Howard fought his way through this guy's ear, he used to play in a band and be a good bass player, too, and played with some good guys. And when he went to California, I'll tell this story so he can talk tech, if you don't mind. So he goes out to California with his band, and pretty soon you know what? I'm going to let you tell the story. You're better. Tell him he realized one day as a bass player, he saw a better bass player, and he saw a guy had it, and pretty soon he was pinch hitting behind the board. So I'm going to let him take over. We're crude. We forgot to get a little attachment for the other headphone. So I'd like you to meet.
You're going to share.
His name is Howard Steele. And he's had all the success that all of us, that I would have, if I could have, when our band, the good band that we had, we wouldn't have been, I don't know, maybe a big record master or anything, but we could have played anywhere because we were super versatile. But we needed the whole band. We had 3 all-stars. I was not one of them. The rhythm guitar player and I were good teammates. We knew how to play. We knew what to do. The bass player and I were hooked up. We had a world-class bass player. And Sonny, I mentioned. Then we had a guy who was a classically trained organist. He had a big Hammond B3 with the Leslies. You know, you spin around, not the little baby. And then the great bass player, and then Bill and I sat in, and we won a tour to go to California for 6 weeks, and we're going to follow Sly and the Family Stone. You may be too young to know who they are, but we were going to follow them into their club, but two guys wouldn't go. One, the guy ran a shoe store, and he had 2 kids, the great bass player, and he couldn't. And the other guy got mad at me, and he's since said it's the worst decision he's ever made. He said, we don't have enough original stuff. We shouldn't go out there. But we had earned a 6-week gig. So the second we got out to California and the new guy came in to play bass, he played bass like a lead guitar player. Sucked. Was not good. We didn't have any kind of bottom end. We didn't have anything. And so I said, I'm going to play for 6 weeks. Took my drums, sold them on Green Street. That's it. So he went much further than that. So I'm going to let you talk and meet Howard Steele. And I'll come back at the end to say hi, and maybe hopefully Lone will be in there.
Probably not.
Hi guys.
Chair.
Hi.
We're sharing
Nice to meet you.
headphones today, so it's good to see you. I don't know a lot about the band, and I thought I'd maybe spend some time. I'll finish the story first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Please do.
growing up in El Paso, we put together a band, and I was working at his dad's radio station, and I've always been recording. We started out, the first recordings we made was with one microphone on a mono tape machine, and I used to take that out to the radio station and get it put on a bigger piece of tape, and then run it over to the rock and roll radio station, and then they would start playing it. That was the good days of radio, I think. But so we put together some demos, and like I said, I've always had a knack for recording, I think, and decided to go out to California and try to do something, and we were lucky. We got a record deal, and we started recording, and at that time, I only wanted to be a player and a writer, I thought. So I didn't do the production. We got a producer, and he was taking us down this path that wasn't us. Here we are, kind of a funky trio, and all of a sudden we have a piano, and the toughest thing that I ever did that really changed it was this producer wanted me to play the song, with my fingers, and then he wanted me to overdub the same thing with a felt pick, and then do a third overdub with a metal pick. And I couldn't remember what I played to that extent to ever double anything I did at that time. Because so much of it was improv every time I
Yeah.
So I went to Mike Curb, who was the person who signed us, and I said, I'd like to take over the recording. I want to produce it. And he said, you produced the demos? I said, well, yeah, I did. He said, who could engineer? And so I knew how to do that. I said, I'll be the engineer. So I've taken over the album, and it turned out that the producer that we had was also a musician. He was a studio drummer.
Oh.
So when he found out I knew how to mix, he said, Howard, there's a session tomorrow at the studio in the morning. Could you cover for me and record the session? And I said, sure. And little did I know, as the players came in, they were the A-team studio players in L.A.
Oh, that's so cool.
Jim Gordon was the drummer, who went on to be with Derek and the Dominoes and that, and Carol Kay, who was a famous female bass player.
Yeah.
And so 4 people, and I did my same miking, it's the same thing I was doing with our band. And they started playing, and it sounded a whole lot better.
Of course.
And it was so magical to hear them because they were so in tune and played so together. I called the guitar player in the band, in my band, and said, you got to come down and hear these guys. Well, let me back up. First thing I said to myself is, Howard, you don't know how to play the bass. You thought you did.
You didn't.
But you have a lot to learn. Because when you hear, how do you know till you hear someone that you really respect as a player, or someone that you know is among the top, do you really see where your shortnesses are, your places you need to practice? So anyway, I called Michael I said, Michael, you got to come down and hear these guys. And Michael said, are they reading music? And I said, well, yeah. He says, I'm not coming down. They can't be playing with soul.
No.
And so then I hung up and I called the drummer back and I said, you got to come down here and see this drummer. And he just said, Howard, I know all about the drummers. So needless to say, neither one of them came down. And
No.
I started getting the call to do more and more recording and left the band and actually did some playing as a studio bass player for a bit. And got associated with these people that work with Led Zeppelin.
Oh, cool.
And
Cool.
to make a long story short, I did some recording with them, but more importantly, one of the businessmen with them was doing a session and had called me for bass. And after the first take, he did like this, come in the control room. I came in, he says, Howard, you got to fix this sound. This is terrible. So that's when I kind of made the decision that I liked being on the control room side of things. And
Yeah, sure.
yeah, so with that, so I want you to tell me a little bit about your recording experience for this album. How did you do it? How long did it take? Did you do it, cut tracks and then overdubs, or did you do it all as one play? Or tell me, help me out here.
We do record all the tracks separately, and we do overdubs as well with the guitars and some of the vocals as well. But mainly we take a long time doing the songs, but we start out demoing them and then rehearse them a lot, and then at some point we decide now we're going to track the song for real, and then we just take it from the bottom with the drums and the bass and either guitar or piano, depending on what's more important for the song, then the vocal, and then we see where it goes from there.
So who produces?
Well,
we do.
we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have an engineer, or do you do the engineering?
Well, Henrik does most of the engineering because he knows his way around the studio really well. We learn, we pick up some of the stuff when we record, but he does most of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So then I guess it's a decision by majority as to which is the best guitar part, which is the best vocal.
Yeah. We all take our parts in deciding what each of the instruments should play. For every track.
And who does the writing?
We all do.
We all do as well.
Wow, well that's really cool.
That's nice.
So it sounds like that chemistry's pretty good from the way I can see you interacting right now. So.
Yeah, it feels like it. At least.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not as much, but yeah.
No, but it's nice collaborating on making the music, like not even just the writing, but the actual music and the arrangements. Because even though one guy's playing the guitar, the drummer still might say, "I think you should do it like this instead," and then collaborating on making the parts.
Yeah, because we all sort of play all the instruments, so we all sort of know our way around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've worked with some players that were multi-talented like that, and sometimes
Probably better than us as well.
well, sometimes it doesn't go as planned when it's either one person trying to do everything or everybody trying to play everything. I've worked on records with some great people and this was back in the days where you didn't get a lot of sleep sometimes. And I was working with this one particular artist, and I wanted to lay down some ground rules, because you can't work 22 hours a day, day after day, and still make everything good. So I said, I want to work from 10 in the morning we can work till 10 or 12 at night. But that's it. And so it started off with, he played guitar and piano. He played piano, and we cut a couple tracks that day. And then I left. I said, I'm out of here. It's 10 o'clock. See you tomorrow. I go back in the morning at 10 o'clock and said, yo, you got here early. And he said, no, I've been here all night. and he had the second engineer with me. He said, so I didn't like the piano, so I put a guitar on instead. I said, did you erase the piano? He said, yeah. Because a lot of times, when you're first getting the essence of that song, whatever that feel is or that magic that makes that song work, sometimes happen like if you're playing bass, guitar, and drums, or part of the band's doing it. But you'll capture some magic in there that if you screw with any one of those instruments, that magic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it disappears.
So this went on for days and turned into weeks, and I was running out of time, and because I had another project coming, and then the next thing I know, he's saying, "Well, you just don't like me. You just don't want to finish my record," which couldn't have been further from the truth. But that shows you how easy it is to spend a whole lot of money trying to do something by taking too hard of a look at it. So that's that's my little lesson for the day, I guess. But I wish you the best of luck, and just I'm going
Thanks.
to turn you back over here to Harry.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Howard. One of the great things about Howard is, and he's very self-effacing, and there's never any kind of bragging. We did an interview with him that's going to be coming up on the site. All these famous people that he just casually, he has the Guess Who, and he has the Bachman Turner guy. They're on his phone, and Alice Cooper.
Let me just run through some people.
All right. Here
so,
we go.
Yeah.
So I've done Carly Simon, Diana Ross, Leo Sayer, Burton Cummings, Randy Bachman, Steely Dan, Kurt, the Trooper, a big group from England, Rod Stewart, Dusty Springfield.
Didn't you do Barbara Streisand or something like that? He did a song for James Bond movie.
Yeah,
Carly Simon.
I did that too.
Nobody Does It Better.
Of course.
That's so cool.
Great because I actually got to see the premiere of the movie in England.
Oh,
on
cool.
another project, but that was probably one of the highlights of the greatest, things that I've really enjoyed doing. But working with Trooper out of Canada, working with people like Burton Cummings, he was the lead singer in the Guess Who. He and Randy Bachman were the Guess Who. And I remember the first time I recorded Burton, he came into the studio, set up, he played piano, and he sang the track. And my partner at that time was Richard Perry. We looked at each other and said, "You can't sing that better. The vocal's done." Those moments that happen. They're great. But working with all those different artists, I think the continuity is they all work really hard, and it sounds like you do the same thing, and you work on it till it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Excellent. But he has tons of stories that you'll be talking, and he'll say, "I was there for 6 months in the studio, and then when we did a Manhattan transfer, and it was about 5 in the morning, and then my partner says, 'Hey, hang around for a little bit.' So Marvin Hamlich comes in, who everybody knows who he is, and he walks in and sits down on the piano, and he sings 'Nobody Does It Better,' and he's playing the piano. And then the guy looks over at Howard and says, we're going to record Carly Simon, and we're going to do the James Bond, the big song for the James Bond movie." And they did everything, and then they got to the strings, and they didn't like the strings in L.A., so they went to London and did the strings. And so I said to Howard said to the guy, "I wonder what the difference is between the strings in L.A. and the strings over in London." And he said, "The strings in America, or in Los Angeles specifically, when the take is over, everybody jumps up to get on their cell phone, they're checking the stock market, they're doing everything, but the dudes in London sit there, and they don't move until the guy comes back down and says that's good or that's not." The story
They're focused.
They're a team, and they're focused, and that's it, and they're not moving. He said, so they're individual guys in LA, some of them are better, but the team in London was the team that they used to put the stuff together. But I'm always proud of Howard because he did it, and he was a good musician, I thought, but he found his calling up on the other side of the glass. So it's lots of fun to hear these kinds of stories. But the one thing that I'm a businessman and he's a businessman, he has a big consulting. He can build buildings with the great AV, the great this. He works with the architects and does all that. He quit about 20 years ago. He was in Nashville for 15 years working on that stuff over there too. But the hardest thing that that I see, if I can look into bands now, are the ones that I played with that were good and crashed quick and early, is they don't stay focused, and they can't stay in the business side of it. And, you know, you get into drugs and do this stuff, which everybody screws around with when you're young and you're playing.
Yeah.
But you've got to do your thing. This isn't a dad lecture. If you play music, you don't need a dad. That's the most beautiful, to me.
We just need a loner.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's good. To me, music is everything in my life. It can change my mood. I'm fairly creative I make things up. I have little icons I build and think of, and I'm a pretty psycho brain myself, but I can't, I still have to put things in business and to be able to prioritize. And now that this show is taking off, I had to turn a little company that we were working on, and we had some problems. I came back in a couple of years ago. We put a good team, which Terry's part of, and it's doing great now. I have to say goodbye in December because I'm going to do more things, and I want Howard to come back one more time and explain that. But I want to ask you about, I was trying to explain to him about what was the big show that you guys did in London. I didn't know, with all the bands. And then tell me about your summer, because I know Lone said you're booked. So how did it go? Where'd you play?
A lot of places.
Yeah, we did.
How was the show, though? At the Cavern?
At the
Yeah.
Cavern, yeah.
Cavern.
That was great.
Yeah,
Amazing.
really.
Good responsive,
like-
good crowd?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a good crowd. It's always a good crowd there. Like, we've played there for a couple of years now, and it's like you can feel the presence of the history in the building. Like, because I mean, one thing is, like, obviously we do like the Beatles, and most people do, of course. But there's like,
Good for you. I have some
Yeah.
people that say, the Beatles. I said, look, there's nobody like the Beatles. I don't care who you like or what. That's not just personal prejudice, but you can get so much from those guys. And you look
Yeah.
back and realize they started from nothing. They put this stuff together. So I interrupted you, but they were obviously hanging out in that building at one time themselves.
Yeah.
yeah, but you can see, like, there's posters and pictures of all kinds of celebrities being down there because it's just such a famous place. So you also have, like, a lot of tourists running there, so there's like a lot of open-minded people listening to
But the
music.
whole vibe and the culture there, when you go in as a person to listen to music, is a lot different from in Denmark as well. They're much more into the music and to new music as well, and that's really
That's
cool.
Good for
That's
us.
really cool.
Yeah,
To my knowledge, Denmark doesn't have a club or a place where you can play music where they have the same heritage.
No.
No,
It doesn't exist here.
no,
it doesn't.
But Denmark produces pretty good music as a whole, as a place. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are good. What,
It
are you
does,
just
but-
friggin' cold in the winter and just have to play music all day in a nice warm
But-
place? Or why,
Maybe it's
why-
because-
Cold
why
all
does
the time.
Denmark have greatness? You guys got a lot of greatness for as little as your country is.
Maybe it's because most people here don't really want to listen to music. So if you want to play music, you really gotta play music. Yeah,
you really,
you really need to want to play music.
yeah,
But isn't it the best?
And that, yeah,
Don't you feel great when you're on
yeah,
stage?
it
Yeah,
is,
playing
it
music?
is,
of course,
definitely,
yeah.
Like,
yeah, it is.
I've been, I used to play a lot of poker, and I wanted to earn my way and see if I could be good enough ever to play at the World Series. So I worked and got my butt beat all the time for years and years and years, and I was determined to get up to where I could play those guys. And I got to a level where I could beat them 3 out of 10. Well, what does that mean? The other 7 are going to beat me because I actually had a job. But I sat at a table with the world's greatest players and the BBC filming and everything. Nothing was as good as playing drums, sitting on the stage in a band with your teammates. And we used to do some things where we go live with the guys for 5 or 6 weeks. You find out a lot about each other when you're living together.
Yeah.
You have nut guys sitting on the road, no ladies around. I know you got to chase them down, or they chase you down in those days. So then where'd you go in the summer? Did you go to like Sweden, or did you stay in the UK? Or where did you go play? Because you're pretty busy.
Well, we played in Cavern, and we played one gig in Stockholm as well, but mostly in Denmark
Yeah,
because
just all over Denmark.
yeah. So
You had pretty
Yeah.
good action then in Denmark. You said the club's not that great, but they played you.
but it's like in the summertime, there's a lot of small festivals
Yeah.
around Denmark. It's like that's the closest thing to cultural
yeah,
music. Like,
that's the best way to get up for us anyway. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask Howard to, and we'll let you get off. I don't want to bore. I can't really think of anything that would make you be thrilled. You do see my boy back there who's joined the show, Grayson. You remember when I first did the show? He fell off the box, fell out of my chair. There he is.
Yeah.
So he hangs out in my little cave with me. Now he's my son. Isn't he handsome?
Yeah, he's
Sure
very-
is.
Thank you. We love him. And so I get in here, and all the lights are off, and everything is dark. And I had these moving van rugs, you know, those things that you put on furniture and stuff. So it takes
Oh, yeah.
like 30 minutes to set this studio up, and I put them all over the place. Or the guy that does the good voice on the show, you hear him, the guy that does the liners and stuff, he's my
Yeah.
lifelong pal. He's a pro. Anyways, he told me how to do all this sound dispersion and the rest of that stuff. So pretty soon it becomes a cave, and it's dark. And I have this little teeny light up here that you can't see. So one light goes down. But it reminds me, it's a very comfortable feeling. Here's the Zoom, here's the board, here's this. And it reminds me of playing drums, because in the drums, you're in the back. You're kind of, you know, in your own
Yeah.
little
Yeah,
spot,
yeah.
which suited me. I never wanted to play guitar. I just always wanted to play the drums, and that's how it goes. But I want Howard to tell you what we're going to do next year, because we'll be sealing your.
Ask them about their upcoming tour.
Okay. The producer here, Mr. Terry T-Bone. Well, he's T-light now. He's lost about how many pounds? 60. See? And Grayson could use 60.
Good job.
Very
Nice.
good.
But anyway, so what's the upcoming tour? What's the next action for the Clowns? Where are you going?
Next action is just booking a lot of gigs, because we just changed drummers, if you didn't notice.
I
So
did
yeah,
notice that. And this drummer-
basically
That's
I
we
liked your
we
other
we haven't
drummer,
really been booking a lot. Yeah,
except he never smiled
yeah.
until
But
the one time I said, yeah, the guys get off in the front and everything. We always get the blame, but sometimes it's actually the guys in the front, isn't that right? Then he smiled just one time. So your new guy, what's your
Yeah.
what's your new drummer?
My name's Rasmus.
Rasmus. He's smiling a lot more. Plus,
Yeah.
you know, you're in a beautiful time in your life. You got to have the ladies. It's a wonderful, wonderful. So if any of you are married, I didn't say that, but you got to have. It actually cost me my first marriage, unfortunately, because when
It is.
when we grew up, athletes were the kings. You know, we were about 14 or 15. All the girls went to the athletes. But as soon as the Beatles and as soon as music hit, we got the ladies. And then the athletes hung around us because we had the ladies. So it all worked out perfectly in my life. So you're going to go, you're going to book gigs. Who does it? Lone does?
yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
She does.
We
everything.
don't handle anything other than just playing music and producing music.
That's all
that's
you
it.
should do.
You gotta get them to the U.S.
If
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can do that. We're going to have you, one of these days, believe it or not, we're going to have you over here. We're going to get your butts over here. Get some kind of.
And we hope to
tour.
get over there and play
That'd
some
be really
gigs.
cool.
We want
Yeah,
to-
yeah,
that'd be
we
really
want
cool.
to- If we can help you do that, we want to. So maybe our next evolution, what we're going to do, so I'll turn it over to Howard, and then I'll come back and say goodbye. And I appreciate your time, and I know it's 9 o'clock down there, whatever. But we really care about you and like
Yeah.
you. And as our little crappy little podcast started, you guys were welcoming and now that it's growing some, maybe even if you're in 537 cities, they hear your stuff. That's a better spread. Maybe you can start. I don't know what the Russians think about you, but you know, maybe we get some good action in some of the other places. But Howard's going to tell you
Yeah,
you're going to see us next year instead of just hearing us. So
That's cool.
let Howard take a little peek. I'll say goodbye to the boys, and then we'll let them go.
All right. So what's going to be happening is there's going to be video to the podcast. So you'll be able to see
Yeah.
Harry's wonderful face every week on the show.
Face for radio.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to helping get that together, because I think it's going to be a great ad, and it's going to be happening very soon.
And we'll be on. We'll have a Facebook Live. We'll have a YouTube deal, and so maybe that'll give you some more pop.
Maybe cable TV.
Yeah, that would be
we
great.
hope to.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll check it out definitely.
So also any videos that you have, instead of just playing the music, there'll be a video to accompany it. And I think that's a real big plus as well.
Yeah.
All right?
True.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today.
Say goodbye.
Well, thank you
Thank
too.
you.
Goodbye,
Yeah.
boys. Thanks,
Goodbye.
and good luck.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you very much for the time.
Take care.
Okay?
Thanks.
You
See
too.
you soon.
Ask them if they're gonna send it. I got a recording.
Yeah, see you.
Well,
Do you, and if you have a recording on your end, send it to us, because we have 3 different things.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we get the best audio, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
boys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
offline.